Hey guys, we're back. Alright, so if you're going to look and you want to measure something, in order to measure it, it has to have two endpoints. Because if it didn't, if you were measuring a line, you would measure in both directions forever. So in order to measure it, you have to have two definite ends, which is why you measure line segments only. So if you're going to measure a line segment, if you want to say to someone, okay, well, the measurement of this segment is 2 inches, you can either say that the measurement, which is a lowercase m, of this segment, so we'll call this mn, equals 2 centimeters, or what did I say, 2 inches? Okay, equals 2 inches. Or you can say mn equals 2 inches. Now notice I don't have that bar across the top. So that is unique. Whichever way you prefer, you can do it this direction. It's assumed if you don't have that bar across the top that it's not a ray and it's not a line, that if you're setting it equal to something, it has to be a line segment. Alright. This is really important because it allows us to tell more about what we have. So in this case, we have points P, M, and Q. And if I told you that M is between P and Q, that means two things. If it's between, that means it has to be on the same line. So you can't have M over here because then you can't say that it's in the middle or to one side. Between is specific in geometry to meaning that these points are collinear. It's called the betweenness of points if you're curious. But the word between means that these points are collinear. And it also means something that might be fairly obvious, but is worded kind of weird. But if you get this point, so from M to P, so you're looking at this distance, that PM plus, if you look at the distance between M and Q, plus MQ, is going to equal this distance, equals the distance between P and Q. You can also, remember, you can also do like the measurement of this plus the measurement of that equals the measurement of that. Regardless, this means that if you add the two segments together, you can tell that if this segment plus this segment is going to equal that segment. And for one other thing when we're looking at segments, something called congruence. Congruence. Congruence means that two things are going to be the same measurement. So you can have congruent lines. So if I knew that between R and S, if this segment right here and this segment were the same length, you put a little tally mark right here. And so, for example, if I had a rectangle, if these two were the same, they were congruent, you put a little dash. If these two are the same, you put a dash. Now these have to have identical dashes. So I have 2 marks here. If this line and this line are the same, they both need to have 2 marks. So that's one way that if you're looking at detailed pictures, they will show congruence by looking at how the points match. So in this case, if you have 2 congruent segments next to each other, so you measure them, they're exactly the same. In this case, S is what we call the midpoint of RT. We're going to talk more about midpoint in just a little bit in your next video. But just so you know, that's the word for that. And we know that because those two segments are equal.